In 2021, a survey found that 43% of Americans felt stigmatized when they went to the doctor. Why? Their weight. Despite the fact that the American Medical Association, Centers for Disease Control, and the World Health Organization recognize obesity as a chronic disease, most healthcare providers don't receive training in how to treat patients with obesity. Research suggests the harmful effects of weight discrimination increase negative health outcomes and lead to greater mortality. People who experience it are also almost 3 times as likely to experience mood or anxiety disorders. So, what kind of triage can be done to lessen weight stigma in healthcare settings?
We all have ideas, like preconceived notions, attitudes, beliefs, and we make judgments about people based on a whole bunch of things. And one of them is body size, one of them is weight.
This is Dr. Asher Larmy, a UK physician who's campaigning for an end to medical weight stigma around the world so that everyone can access fair and equal health care.
And what happens then is this patient who is already feeling vulnerable, who is already feeling scared, no longer feels able to communicate with their doctor because the lines of communication have ended. And now all of a sudden, they don't feel like their doctor has their best interest at heart.
When blood pressure cuffs are offered in only one size, for example, it can lead to inaccurate low readings for people who require a smaller cuff and inaccurate high readings for people who require a larger one.
This can be something very small, again, like they don't have the right gown to fit you or they don't have the right blood pressure cuff to measure your blood pressure. But it can also be something really quite serious, like they missed a really important diagnosis. They missed a cancer because they were too busy making assumptions about your body.
In the US, a survey of 141 medical schools found that of those that responded, med schools dedicate an average of only 10 hours to obesity education. And half of them report that expanding obesity education is a low priority or not a priority at all. Even clinicians who specialize in obesity-related issues have been found to have high levels of anti-fat bias. The result? Less respect for their patients and less willingness to spend time with them. For decades, human bodies have been measured by a metric called body mass index, or BMI. BMI is calculated by dividing a person's metric weight by their height squared. A BMI of 30 or above is classified as obese. But BMI has its limitations. It doesn't account for muscle mass, bone density, or body composition, leading to false positives and false negatives that misclassify a person's cardiometabolic health. And it was originally calculated based on a sample of white European men, a group that doesn't reflect the US population.
It was never meant to be used as a diagnostic test. We use the BMI now to gatekeep certain services from people, and that's the problem.
In the United States, for example, if a patient is below or above a given BMI cutoff, they might be denied a surgery or have to pay extremely high out-of-pocket expenses. Some orthopedists screen patients over the phone and can refuse surgery based on the patient's BMI alone without ever having met them. Even fertility doctors can choose to withhold IVF treatments based on BMI.
People need to understand what it feels like to be stigmatized as a fat person most of your life, as an adult, as a child, by healthcare professionals over and over and over again. This isn't just about your feelings being hurt. This is about people getting to the point of being so stressed and so uncomfortable and so unhappy with the healthcare that they're receiving that they would rather stay at home and die. What are you doing to make sure that you're working in your patient's best interest? That's a question that all doctors need to be asking at all times. No doctor wants to miss a cancer. It's like, for us, it's like the thing we go to sleep, fearing and dreaming about and having nightmares about. We talked about the ways that people feel stigmatized in the doctor's office. Just don't do them. Work on your nonverbal communication, have a decent blood pressure cuff, have a gown that fits them, and then perhaps start to address that by doing some learning, by perhaps speaking to patients, by listening to people with lived experience. All of these things are really useful, like educating yourself. So please pay attention. That, for me, is the most meaningful form of weight stigma training, actually, is get people really relating to human beings and what they go through.
Take action today and begin a conversation about weight stigma in healthcare and beyond. After all, it can be a matter of life or death.